Ambassador Sarah Chen walked through the long white hallway of the space station. Her shoes made soft clicking sounds on the metal floor. She had been preparing for this meeting for 6 months. Today was the day Earth would ask to join the Galactic Council. The space station was beautiful and clean. Everything was white and silver. Strange alien plants grew in special boxes along the walls. The air smelled different here, like flowers and metal at the same time. Sarah had never been this far from Earth before. She stopped at a large door. 2 alien guards stood beside it. They looked like tall gray trees with eyes. One of them spoke in a voice that sounded like wind through leaves. "Ambassador Chen, Princess Zixathera is waiting for you." Sarah took a deep breath and walked into the room. The room was round with a high ceiling. In the center was a table made of some kind of crystal. Sitting across from where Sarah would sit was the most beautiful alien she had ever seen. Princess Zixathera looked like she was made of blue glass. Her skin was clear and blue, like looking at the ocean on a sunny day. She was tall and thin with long arms and fingers. Her eyes were silver and very large. When she moved, her skin caught the light and sparkled. "Welcome, Ambassador Chen," the princess said. Her voice was soft and musical. "Please sit. We have much to discuss." Sarah sat down in the chair across from the princess. The chair was comfortable but strange. It seemed to change shape to fit her body perfectly. "Thank you, Your Highness," Sarah said. "Earth is very honored to be here today." The princess smiled. When she smiled, her face lit up like stars. "I have read about your planet. It sounds very interesting. Your people have done amazing things in a short time." For the next 2 hours, they talked about many things. They talked about Earth's technology, culture, and history. They talked about trade and peace agreements. Sarah felt good about how the meeting was going. The princess seemed to like humans. Then the princess opened a large book made of metal pages. She began asking questions from the book. These were standard questions that all new species had to answer. "How long does your species live?" the princess asked. "About 80 to 100 years, Sarah answered. The princess wrote something in the book with a pen that glowed blue. "How many planets does your species live on?" "Just one right now, Earth." "What do your people eat?" "Many different things." "Plants, meat, fruits, vegetables." The questions continued for 30 minutes. Sarah answered each one easily. Then the princess asked a question that made Sarah pause. "How many reproductive cycles can your species complete in one lifetime?" Sarah blinked. She had not expected this question. "I'm sorry. Could you explain what you mean by reproductive cycles?" The princess looked surprised. "How many times can one person of your species create offspring? How many times can they reproduce?" Sarah felt her heart start beating faster. She realized this question was more important than it seemed. "Well," Sarah said slowly, "humans can reproduce many times during their lives. Some people have no children. Some have 1 or 2. Others might have 10 or 15 children." The princess stopped writing. She looked up at Sarah with wide silver eyes. "Please repeat that," the princess said. "Humans can have children multiple times throughout their lives. From about age 15 to age 50 for women. They can have a baby almost every year if they want to." The princess put down her glowing pen. She stared at Sarah for a long moment. "You are saying that one human female could have 35 children?" "Technically, yes," Sarah said, "though most people choose to have fewer children. In my country, the average family has 2 children." The princess stood up quickly. Her chair made a soft humming sound as she moved away from it. "This cannot be correct," the princess said. "Your translator must be broken." Sarah shook her head. "No, the translator is working fine. Humans can reproduce many times during their lives." The princess walked to the wall and pressed her hand against a blue panel. The panel lit up and she spoke in her own language. It sounded like music mixed with the sound of water. Another alien voice answered from the panel. The princess spoke again, faster this time. Sarah sat quietly and waited. She was starting to understand that her answer had shocked the princess. She wondered how other alien species reproduced. The princess came back to the table. She sat down slowly. "I just spoke with the station's computer," the princess said. "I asked it to check all translation systems. They are all working correctly." "Your Highness," Sarah said carefully, "may I ask how your people reproduce?" The princess was quiet for a moment. "My people, the Velthari, reproduce once in our lifetime. Only once. We live for 300 years and we can only have 1 child." The decision of when to reproduce is the most important decision of our entire life. Sarah began to understand. And other species in the Galactic Council? The Caraxians reproduce twice in their 1,000-year lifespan. The Zak reproduce once per colony, which happens every 200 years. The Mindiri reproduce 3 times, but they live for 500 years. The princess looked at her book, then back at Sarah. According to your answer, humans could theoretically have more children in one lifetime than my entire planet has had in the last century. Sarah felt a cold feeling in her stomach. Is this a problem? The princess closed her book slowly. Ambassador Chen, I need to report this information to the council immediately. This changes everything. What do you mean? Sarah asked. No species in the Galactic Council can reproduce more than 3 times in their lifetime. Most reproduce only once. Your species' reproductive capability is... She paused, looking for the right word. Unprecedented. Sarah realized she might have just made a terrible mistake. Your Highness, humans are not dangerous. We control our population. We don't just have children without thinking about it. The princess stood up again. I understand you believe that, Ambassador. But the Council will need to discuss this. A species that can reproduce so frequently could populate entire star systems in just a few generations. But we don't, Sarah said quickly. Earth's population is actually growing slower now than it was 50 years ago. Many countries have declining birth rates. The princess walked to the door. That information will be important for the Council to hear. But first they need to know about your species' biological capabilities. She turned back to Sarah. This meeting is concluded for now. You will be contacted within 24 hours about the Council's decision. Sarah stood up. Princess Zixthera, I hope the Council will understand that humans are peaceful. We want to join the galaxy as friends. The princess looked sad. I believe you, Ambassador Chen. But fear often speaks louder than friendship. The Council has never encountered a species like yours. Sarah left the room feeling worried. She had come to this meeting thinking the hardest part would be proving humans were smart enough to join the Galactic Council. She never thought their ability to have children would be the problem. As she walked back through the white hallways, Sarah wondered if she had just ruined Earth's chance to join the galaxy. All because of one simple question about reproduction. The alien guards watched her leave. They whispered to each other in their tree-like voices. Word was already spreading through the station about the strange humans who could reproduce without limit. Sarah reached her small room on the station and sat down on the bed. She needed to contact Earth immediately. She needed to tell them that humanity's greatest strength might have just become their greatest weakness. Sarah Chen sat in her small room on the space station. She held a communication device that looked like a glowing cube. Earth was 20 light-years away, but the quantum communicator could reach them instantly. Dr. Martinez, this is Ambassador Chen, she said into the device. The cube flickered and showed the face of Dr. Elena Martinez, Earth's lead scientist for alien contact. Dr. Martinez had short gray hair and kind brown eyes behind thick glasses. Sarah, how did the meeting go? Are we in the Council? Sarah took a deep breath. We have a problem, Elena, a big problem. She told Dr. Martinez everything that had happened with Princess Zixithera. When she finished, Dr. Martinez was quiet for a long time. They think we're dangerous because we can have babies, Dr. Martinez finally said. It's more than that, Sarah said. To them, reproduction is rare and special. We must sound like some kind of breeding machine species. Meanwhile, Princess Zixthera walked quickly through the station's government section. The walls here were covered with screens showing different alien languages and symbols. She needed to find the other council representatives immediately. She found Elder Thon in the meditation chamber. Elder Thon was a wise serpent, one of the oldest species in the galaxy. He looked like a giant snake with arms and a wise, ancient face. He was floating in a tank of purple liquid that helped him think. Elder Thon, the princess said, I need to speak with you urgently. The old serpent opened his yellow eyes. Young princess, you seem disturbed. What troubles you? The humans, Elder. Their reproductive capabilities are alarming. She told him what Sarah had said. Elder Thon's eyes grew wider as she spoke. This cannot be true, he said slowly. No intelligent species reproduces without careful planning and ritual. I checked the translations 3 times, the princess said. I even asked their ambassador to explain it differently. The answer was the same. Elder Thon slithered out of his tank. Purple liquid dripped from his scales. Call an emergency council meeting now. Within 2 hours, representatives from 12 different alien species gathered in the council chamber. The room was huge with seats arranged in a circle. Each seat was designed for a different type of alien body. There was Commander Vex of the Caraxians, who looked like a tall robot made of silver metal. The Zak sent 3 representatives because they shared one mind. They looked like walking crystals that sparkled with different colors. The Mindiri representative was General Keth, who had 4 arms and purple fur covering his entire body. Princess Zixthera stood in the center of the circle. "Fellow council members, we have discovered something about the humans that changes everything," she repeated what Sarah had told her. As she spoke, the aliens began talking among themselves in their different languages. The room filled with sounds like music, wind, and grinding metal. Commander Vex's mechanical voice cut through the noise. "Impossible. No species can reproduce more than 5 times without destroying their planet's resources." "The Caraxians are correct," said General Keth in his growling voice. "My people reproduce 3 times in 500 years. Even that requires careful planning and resource management." The 3 Zak representatives spoke together, their shared voice echoing strangely. "We have existed for 10,000 years. Our entire civilization has reproduced only 50 times. These humans could match that in 1 generation." Elder Than raised his hand for silence. "Princess Zixthara, what exactly did the human ambassador say when you asked about population control?" "She said their population growth was actually slowing down. She said many of their countries have declining birth rates." "But what is their current population?" asked Commander Vex. Princess Zixthera checked her notes. 8 billion individuals. On 1 planet, the room went completely silent. 8 billion was more than the total population of most council species across all their planets combined. 8 billion, whispered General Keth. "And they want to expand to other worlds?" "They said they want to explore space peacefully," the princess said. Elder Than moved to the center of the room. "Consider this. A species that can reproduce 20 times per individual with 8 billion individuals, spreading across multiple planets. They could have trillions of offspring within a few generations." Commander Vex's mechanical voice became louder. "They would consume every resource in the galaxy." The Zak spoke together. "This is not speculation. This is mathematical certainty." Princess Zixthara felt confused and upset. She had liked Ambassador Chen. The human seemed kind and intelligent, but the numbers were frightening. "What are you proposing?" she asked. Elder Than looked around the room at each representative. "We cannot allow them into the council. The risk is too great." "But they haven't done anything wrong," the princess said. "They haven't invaded anyone or taken resources that don't belong to them." "Yet," said General Keth. "They haven't done these things yet. But when their population grows larger, when their planet becomes crowded, what then?" Commander Vex projected a hologram into the center of the room. It showed mathematical calculations and population growth charts. Based on their reproductive capacity, humans could populate 100 planets within 50 years if left unchecked. The princess stared at the numbers floating in the air. They did look scary when presented this way. "What about quarantine?" suggested one of the Zak. "We could keep them on their own planet." "For how long?" asked Elder Than. "Eventually they will develop better technology. Eventually they will find ways to leave their world." "So what do we do?" the princess asked. The room was quiet for several minutes. Finally, Elder Than spoke. "I propose we deny their application to join the council. Furthermore, I propose we classify them as a potential threat species and monitor them closely." "That seems harsh," the princess said. "They came to us peacefully. They asked politely to join." "Princess," Elder Than said gently, "I understand your sympathy, but we must think about the future of all species in the galaxy. One species cannot be allowed to endanger everyone else." Commander Vex began counting votes. "All in favor of denying human council membership?" One by one, hands and tentacles and claws rose around the room. The princess looked around sadly. Even species she thought were peaceful and kind were voting against the humans. When the count was finished, 11 species had voted to deny humanity membership. Only Princess Zixthara had voted against it. "The vote is decided," Elder Than announced. "Humans will be denied council membership due to potential biological threat." The princess felt sick to her stomach. She thought about Ambassador Chen waiting in her room, hoping for good news. Who will tell them? She asked. You will, Elder Than said. Since you conducted the interview, you will deliver the council's decision. After the meeting ended, Princess Zixathera walked slowly back toward the diplomatic quarters. She had never had to deliver news like this before. How do you tell someone that their entire species is considered dangerous because they can have children? She stopped outside Sarah's door and pressed the communication button. Ambassador Chen, it's Princess Zixathera. May I come in? The door opened and Sarah appeared. Her face was hopeful and nervous. Princess, do you have news from the council? The princess looked at Sarah's kind face and felt terrible about what she had to say. Yes, she said quietly. I have news. May we sit down? Sarah's hopeful expression began to fade as she saw the princess's sad face. It's not good news, is it? Sarah asked. The princess shook her head. I'm afraid not. Sarah Chen felt like someone had punched her in the stomach. She sat down heavily on her bed and stared at Princess Zixathera. They said no because we can have children? Sarah asked. The princess sat down in the room's only chair. Her blue skin seemed less bright than before. The council is afraid, the princess said softly. They think humans could take over the galaxy through reproduction alone. Sarah put her head in her hands. This is crazy. We're not trying to take over anything. We just want to make friends with other species. I tried to tell them that, the princess said. But the numbers frightened them. 8 billion humans on one planet with the ability to reproduce multiple times each. So what happens now? Sarah asked. Officially, Earth's application to join the council has been denied. Unofficially. The princess paused. The council is going to watch your planet closely. They're worried about what happens when humans develop better space travel. Sarah stood up and walked to the small window. Outside, she could see stars scattered across black space. Each one of those stars might have planets with life. Now Earth would never get to meet them as friends. How long do we have? She asked. What do you mean? Sarah turned around. Before they decide we're too dangerous to leave alone. Before they do something to stop us. The princess looked uncomfortable. I don't know. The council has never faced this situation before. Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. Martinez was in an emergency meeting with world leaders. The conference room was full of presidents, prime ministers, and generals from every major country. President Williams of the United States looked tired and worried. So let me understand this correctly. Aliens think we're dangerous because we can have babies? It's more complex than that, Dr. Martinez explained. To them, reproduction is rare and special. Our ability to reproduce frequently makes us seem like an invasive species. What's an invasive species to them? Asked Prime Minister Chen of China. Think about locusts, Dr. Martinez said. Or rabbits in Australia. Something that reproduces quickly and takes over ecosystems. General Morrison from the European Union leaned forward. Are they planning to attack us? We don't know, Dr. Martinez said. Ambassador Chen says they're going to monitor us. But what happens if they decide we're growing too fast? President Okafor of the African Federation spoke up. Maybe we should show them we can control our population. Many of our countries already have declining birth rates. That might help, Dr. Martinez agreed. But we need to think about this carefully. We can't let fear make us do something stupid. Back on the space station, Princess Zixathera was having her own meeting. She was in Elder Than's private quarters, a room filled with ancient books and floating crystals. You seem troubled, young princess, Elder Than said. He was coiled on a large cushion, his snake-like body forming neat loops. I think we made a mistake, the princess said. Elder Than's yellow eyes focused on her. Explain. The human ambassador, Sarah Chen. She wasn't lying or trying to hide anything. She answered our questions honestly. Doesn't that suggest they're trustworthy? Or it suggests they're naive, Elder Than replied. They might not understand the threat they represent. The princess walked to a window that showed the galaxy outside. Millions of stars twinkled in the darkness. What if we're the ones who don't understand? She asked. What do you mean? All of our species reproduce rarely. We treat it like a sacred ceremony. Maybe that's why our populations stay small. Maybe that's why we've never expanded much beyond our home systems. Elder Than moved closer to her. Are you suggesting that frequent reproduction could be an advantage? Think about it, the princess said. Humans went from being primitive to space traveling in just a few thousand years. Much faster than any of our species. What if their large population helped them develop faster? More minds working on problems, Elder Than said thoughtfully. Exactly. And more people to try different solutions, more chances for genius to appear. Elder Thon was quiet for a long time. Finally, he spoke. Even if that's true, it doesn't change the danger they represent. A species that reproduces quickly could still overwhelm the galaxy. The princess turned away from the window. Could they? Or would they just spread out and give other species more room to grow too? Before Elder Thon could answer, an alarm started ringing throughout the station. A computerized voice spoke in multiple languages. Attention all personnel. Incoming transmission from Earth, priority level maximum. The princess and Elder Thon hurried to the communication center. Other council members were already there. On the large screen in the center of the room, they could see Dr. Martinez sitting at a desk on Earth. Greetings, members of the Galactic Council, Dr. Martinez said. I am Dr. Elena Martinez, Earth's chief scientist for alien contact. I understand there has been some concern about human reproductive capabilities. Commander Vex stepped forward. Human, your species has been classified as a potential threat. Why are you contacting us? Dr. Martinez didn't seem afraid of the robot's loud voice. I'm contacting you because I think there's been a misunderstanding. May I share some information? The council members looked at each other. Finally, Elder Thon spoke. You may proceed, Dr. Martinez. Thank you, Dr. Martinez said. She held up a tablet computer. I want to show you some data about human population growth. Charts and graphs appeared on the screen. They showed population numbers over time for different countries. Yes, humans can reproduce multiple times, Dr. Martinez said, but we don't reproduce without limits. In many developed countries, birth rates are actually falling below replacement level. Princess Zixthera studied the charts. They showed that in some places, human populations were actually shrinking. Furthermore, Dr. Martinez continued, humans have developed many ways to control population growth. Education, family planning, economic factors, all of these influence how many children people choose to have. But your current population is 8 billion, Commander Vex said. That is enormous. Yes, it is large, Dr. Martinez agreed. But it's not growing as fast as it used to, and we're learning to be more efficient with resources. We produce more food per acre than ever before. We're developing cleaner energy sources. We're learning to live sustainably. General Keth growled. What about space expansion? Won't you spread across the galaxy like a plague? Dr. Martinez smiled. Space is very big, General Keth. Even if humans spread to 1,000 planets, there would still be millions of star systems left for other species. The galaxy is enormous, one of the Zacs spoke. But why should we take that risk? Why not keep you contained on your own world? Dr. Martinez's expression became serious. Because isolation has never worked in the long term. Species that are cut off from others eventually stagnate or die out, and species that try to contain others often become oppressive. She leaned forward, looking directly at the camera. We came to you in peace. We want to learn from you and share what we know. If you make us your enemy out of fear, you might create the very problem you're trying to prevent. The communication center became very quiet. The council members looked at each other uncertainly. What are you proposing? Princess Zixithera asked. A trial period, Dr. Martinez said. Let us prove that humans can be good neighbors. Give us limited membership in the council. Let us show you that we can control our growth and share resources fairly. Elder Thon moved closer to the screen. And if you prove to be a threat despite your promises? Then you'll be in a better position to deal with us, Dr. Martinez said honestly. You'll know our capabilities and our weaknesses. But if you shut us out now, you'll learn nothing about us until it's too late to build trust. The transmission ended, leaving the council members to think about what they had heard. Princess Zixithera realized that Dr. Martinez was right about one thing. Fear was making them act without full information. Maybe it was time to learn more about humans before making final decisions. I think we should vote again, she said quietly. 3 days after Dr. Martinez's transmission, the Galactic Council met again. This time the discussion was longer and more heated. Princess Zixithera had spent those 3 days studying everything she could find about human reproduction and family structures. I have a proposal, she announced to the council. Before we make a final decision about humanity, I want to visit their planet. I want to see how they actually live. Elder Thon's yellow eyes narrowed. That could be dangerous, Princess. What if they try to harm you? They invited us to visit, the princess replied. Dr. Martinez specifically offered to show us their population control methods and family structures. Commander Vex's mechanical voice echoed through the chamber. What could you learn from such a visit that we do not already know?
How they really behave, the princess said.
All we have now are numbers and theories. I want to see how humans actually raise their children. I want to understand how they decide when to reproduce, General Keth growled softly. The princess raises a good point. We are making decisions based on fear of what humans might do, not on evidence of what they actually do. The three ZAC representatives spoke together. Knowledge is better than assumption. We support Princess Zixithara's proposal. Elder Thon was quiet for a long moment. Finally, he nodded slowly. Very well. Princess Zixithara will visit Earth as the Council's representative. She will report back on what she observes. 2 weeks later, Princess Zixithara stood in a shuttle approaching Earth. Through the window, she could see the blue and green planet growing larger. She had never seen so much water on one world. Ambassador Sarah Chen sat beside her, pointing out different continents and countries as they flew overhead. That's Asia, Sarah said, pointing to a large land mass. About 4 billion humans live there. Princess Zixithara stared down at the continent. 4 billion people in one area was more than the total population of the entire Velthari Empire. How do they all fit? She asked. Most of them live in cities, Sarah explained. Humans are very good at building up instead of out. We can house thousands of people in tall buildings that take up very little ground space. They landed at a spaceport in North America. As they walked through the building, Princess Zixithara was amazed by how many humans she saw. There were hundreds of people walking around, talking, working, and traveling. Are all these people related? She asked. Sarah laughed. No, most of them are strangers to each other. Humans are comfortable being around people they don't know. This was very strange to the princess. In Velthari society, you only spent time with your close family and a few chosen friends. Their first stop was a place called a school. Dr. Martinez met them at the entrance. Princess Zixithara, welcome to Earth, Dr. Martinez said. This is an elementary school. Children aged 5 to 11 learn here. They walked into a large building filled with the sound of young voices. The princess saw something she had never imagined. Hundreds of small humans running, playing, and laughing together. How many children are here? She asked. About 600, Dr. Martinez replied. The princess stopped walking. 600 children in one building. In her entire life, she had met maybe 50 young Velthari. They visited a classroom where 25 human children sat at small desks. A human adult stood at the front teaching them about mathematics. Miss Johnson, Dr. Martinez said to the teacher, this is Princess Zixithara from another planet. Could you explain to her how human families work? Miss Johnson smiled at the princess. Of course. Children, can you help explain families to our visitor? A small human girl with red hair raised her hand. I have 2 brothers and 1 sister. My mom says that's a big family. A boy with dark skin spoke up. I have 5 brothers. My dad says we're like a basketball team. Another girl said, I live with my grandma and my aunt and her 3 kids. We all live in the same house. Princess Zixithara listened in amazement. These children talked about having multiple siblings like it was normal and fun. Do your parents plan to have more children? She asked. The red-haired girl shrugged. Mom says maybe 1 more. But Dad says 4 kids is enough work already. The children laughed at this, including the princess, who was beginning to understand that humans made reproductive decisions based on practical considerations, not sacred rituals. After the school, they visited a hospital where human babies were born. Dr. Martinez showed the princess a room where new mothers held their babies. This is Maria, Dr. Martinez said, introducing them to a young woman holding a tiny baby. This is her 3rd child. 3rd child? The princess asked. How old are you? 28, Maria replied. We had our first when I was 22, our second when I was 25, and now this little guy. Will you have more children? The princess asked. Maria and her husband looked at each other and smiled. Maybe 1 more, her husband said. But we want to make sure we can afford to take good care of all of them. The princess realized that humans didn't just reproduce because they could. They thought about money, time, and resources before having children. Next, they visited a family planning clinic where humans went to learn about controlling reproduction. A doctor named Dr. Patel explained how humans prevented pregnancy when they didn't want children. Most humans use some form of birth control, Dr. Patel said. We have many methods to help people choose when to have children and when not to. So humans can choose not to reproduce? The princess asked. Absolutely, Dr. Patel said. Many humans choose to have no children at all. Others wait until they're older and more financially stable. Some have one child, some have many. It's a personal choice. This was completely different from Velthari society, where reproduction was expected and planned by the government. In the evening, Sarah took the princess to her own home. Sarah lived in a house with her husband and 2 children, a boy aged 10 and a girl aged 8. Why did you choose to have 2 children? The princess asked as they ate dinner. Sarah's husband, Mark, answered. We wanted our kids to have a sibling to play with, but we also wanted to make sure we could give both of them good educations and opportunities. The princess watched Sarah's children, Emma and Jake, as they ate and talked about their day at school. They seemed happy and well cared for. Do you want more children? The princess asked. Sarah and Mark looked at each other. We talked about it, Sarah said. But we decided 2 was right for our family. We want to focus on being the best parents we can be to Emma and Jake. After dinner, the princess helped Emma with her homework while Jake showed her his collection of toy spaceships. Do you want to have kids someday, Emma? The princess asked. Emma, who was 8 years old, thought about this seriously. Maybe, but first I want to be a scientist like my mom. And I want to travel to other planets like you did. The princess was amazed. This young human was already thinking about her future in terms of education and career, not just reproduction. That night, as the princess lay in the guest bedroom, she thought about everything she had seen. Humans did reproduce frequently compared to other species, but they also made thoughtful decisions about when and how many children to have. She had seen families with 1 child, families with many children, and families with no biological children who had adopted orphans from other families. She had seen humans who chose careers over parenthood, and humans who devoted their lives to raising children. Most importantly, she had seen that human children were loved and cared for, not just produced in large numbers. The next day, Dr. Martinez took her to a family reunion where 5 generations of humans gathered together. The princess met great-grandparents, grandparents, parents, children, and babies, all from the same family line. This family started with 2 people 60 years ago, Dr. Martinez explained. Now there are 43 family members. The princess watched as the older humans helped care for the younger ones. She saw teenagers playing with toddlers, adults helping elderly relatives, and everyone working together to prepare food and clean up. In Velthari society, the princess told Dr. Martinez, children leave their parents when they reach adulthood. We don't maintain these large family connections. Different species, different approaches, Dr. Martinez said. But you can see that humans don't just reproduce without purpose. These children grow up in networks of support and love. As her visit to Earth ended, Princess Zixathera realized that everything she thought she knew about human reproduction was wrong. Humans weren't breeding machines trying to take over the galaxy. They were families trying to build good lives for their children. The question now was whether she could convince the Council of what she had learned. Princess Zixathera stood before the Galactic Council once again. This time she felt different. She had spent 2 weeks on Earth, and what she learned had changed everything she believed about humans. Fellow council members, she began, I have returned from Earth with important information. We have been thinking about human reproduction in the wrong way. Elder Thon moved closer, his snake-like body coiling with interest. Explain what you discovered, Princess. Humans do not reproduce without control or planning, the princess said. They make careful decisions about when to have children, how many to have, and how to care for them. Commander Vex's mechanical voice interrupted. But they can still reproduce frequently. The biological capability remains. Yes, the capability remains, the princess agreed. But capability and action are different things. A Caraxian could choose not to reproduce at all, even though they have the biological ability to reproduce twice. Humans make similar choices. She activated a holographic display showing images from her visit to Earth. The council members saw human families, schools, and communities. I observed human families with 1 child, families with many children, and adults who chose to have no children at all. I saw humans adopting children who were not genetically related to them. I saw grandparents helping to raise grandchildren. General Keth leaned forward with interest. What about population control? How do they manage their numbers? Through education, economic planning, and voluntary birth control, the princess explained. Most humans learn about reproduction and family planning in school. They make decisions based on their financial resources, career goals, and personal desires. The three Zach spoke together. This suggests intelligence and planning, not reckless breeding. Princess Zixithera nodded. Exactly. But I learned something else that's even more important. She changed the holographic display to show charts and statistics Dr. Martinez had given her. Human. Reproductive capability is not just about population growth. It's about innovation, adaptation, and survival. Because humans can have multiple children, they can afford to take risks that our species cannot. What kind of risks? Asked Elder Thon. Educational risks, career risks, exploration risks, the princess explained. If a Velthari family sends their only child to become a space explorer and something happens to that child, their genetic line ends forever. Humans can send some children to safe careers and others to dangerous but important jobs like exploration or research. She showed them images of human schools with hundreds of children learning different subjects. This is why humans developed space travel so quickly. They could afford to have some people fail because they had many people trying different approaches. More attempts mean more chances for success. Commander Vex processed this information. You are suggesting that frequent reproduction is an advantage, not a threat? I'm suggesting it's both, the princess said. It's an advantage for humans, but it could be an advantage for all of us if we work together. She changed the display again, showing demographic data about council species. Look at our population numbers. The Caraxians have been stable at 50 million for the last 1,000 years. The Velthari population has grown by only 10% in 3 centuries. The Zach collective has actually shrunk by 5% in the last 500 years. The council members looked uncomfortable as she continued. We are stagnating. Our populations are getting older. Our innovation has slowed, and we're becoming afraid of change. We reproduce so rarely that we've become cautious about everything. Elder Thon spoke slowly. Are you saying we should change our reproductive patterns? No, the princess said. Each species should reproduce in the way that works best for them. But we should learn from humans about population dynamics, child development, and family structures. She turned to address the entire council. I propose something radical. Instead of seeing humans as a threat, we should see them as teachers. They have solved problems that we haven't even tried to solve. What problems? Asked Commander Vex. How to educate large numbers of children efficiently, how to manage population growth sustainably, how to maintain innovation across generations, how to build support networks for families. Princess Zixthara walked to the center of the chamber. I visited a human school with 600 children. 600? Can you imagine the Velthari trying to educate 600 children at once? We would have no idea how to do it. But humans have developed systems that work. General Keth looked thoughtful. You're saying they could help other species increase their population safely? Not just increase, the princess said. Optimize. The Caraxians might want to reproduce more frequently, but don't know how to support larger families. The Mindiri might want to improve their child survival rates. The Zach might want to prevent population decline. She activated a new holographic display showing potential collaboration scenarios. Humans could share their knowledge of education systems, family support networks, resource management, and population planning. In return, we could share our knowledge of long-term thinking, spiritual development, and sustainable technology. Elder Thon was quiet for a long time. Finally, he spoke. This is a completely different perspective than what we considered before. Because I had incomplete information before, the princess admitted. We all did. We saw numbers and made assumptions. But the reality of how humans live is very different from our fears. The three Zach spoke together. Princess Zixthara, what specifically are you proposing? I propose we admit humans to the Galactic Council with a special role, she said. Let Earth become a center for research into population dynamics, family structures, and education systems. Let humans help other species who want to increase their populations or improve their child-rearing practices, she looked around the room at each council. Member, many of our species are facing demographic problems. The Velthari birth rate has been declining for 2 centuries. The Caraxians haven't had a population increase in 800 years. The Mindiri lose 30% of their children before adulthood. You think humans could help with these problems? Asked General Keth. I know they could, the princess said firmly. They've been solving similar problems for thousands of years. They know how to build schools, design family support systems, and manage population growth. Commander Vex's mechanical voice was quieter than usual. What about the threat of human expansion? We monitor it together, the princess said. Humans join the council, which means they follow council laws about expansion and resource use. If they violate those laws, we can take action, but if we exclude them, we have no legal authority over their actions. Elder Thun nodded slowly. It's better to have them inside the system where we can work with them than outside where we cannot control them. Exactly, the princess said. And working with them benefits everyone. She turned off the holographic display and faced the council directly. Fellow members, we have a choice. We can continue to be afraid of human reproductive capability, or we can see it as a resource that could help all of our species thrive. The council debated for 3 hours. In the end, they voted again. This time, the result was different. 9 species voted to accept humans into the council with special status as advisors on population and family issues. Only 3 species voted against it. 2 months later, Sarah Chen returned to the space station, this time as Earth's first representative to the Galactic Council. She brought with her a team of human experts in education, family planning, child development, and population management. Princess Zixthera greeted her at the docking bay. Ambassador Chen, welcome back. How does it feel to be an official council member? Sarah smiled broadly. It feels wonderful, Princess. And I have good news. 3 council species have already requested consultations about improving their population growth and child survival rates. Which species? The princess asked. The Mindiri want to reduce child mortality. The Caraxians want to build better educational systems. And surprisingly, Elder Thon has asked for advice about increasing wise serpent birth rates. Princess Zixthara laughed, a sound like musical chimes. Elder Thon is full of surprises. As they walked through the station, Sarah noticed that it looked different. There were new sections being built designed to accommodate human families who would be living there while working with other species. Princess, Sarah said, I have a question for you. What is it? After everything you learned about human reproduction and families, would you consider changing Velthari reproductive patterns? Princess Zixthera was quiet for a moment. Actually, yes. I've been thinking about it a lot. What if Velthari could have 2 children instead of 1? What if we could build support systems like human families have? That would be a big change for your people. Big changes are sometimes necessary, the princess said. Humans taught me that being cautious all the time isn't the same as being wise. 6 months later, the first interspecies childcare center opened on the space station. Human children played alongside young Velthari, Mindiri cubs, and Caraxian youth programs. The sound of different species' children playing together filled the halls with new kinds of music. Sarah Chen stood in the center's main room, watching a human teenager help a young Velthari learn to read English, while a Mindiri parent learned human lullabies.